introduction part. I actually finished the introduction. We're doing the actual book, the book itself. Ooh. I ran out of characters. Just tell the people, just excuse me, just type on. I'm gonna start Bismillah. Type on the computer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi wahdahu. والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue, 7:11 p.m., Wednesday, October the 12th, 2022. This evening, in regards to the Hijri calendar, or the Islamic calendar, or the Islamic date rather, is now the 17th of the month of Rabi' al-Awwal, but technically, according to the Islamic calendar, this is Thursday night, the year 1444, after the migration of our Prophet ﷺ. We continue on this tremendous treatise entitled Sharh al-Fatwa al-Hamawiyyah al-Kubra, the great Imam Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah. Notice that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah brought the speech of Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa was considered from what? From al-A'immat al-Arba', from the great A'imma of what the Muslims know in those madhahib. And the madhahib meaning in the affairs of jurisprudence. But notice that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah brought another way. He brought something that's important, rather the most greatest and the most important of all affairs. What was the belief of Abu Hanifa? As we know, Abu Hanifa, his real name was Nu'man ibn Thabit. It was Nu'man ibn Thabit, ibn Zuta, al-Kufi, meaning from Kufa, which is now currently in Iraq, in Iraq. As we talked about last class, the most important, if one wanted to follow the great imams in jurisprudence, you would start with what made him a great imam in the first place, which is his belief. You don't follow him in the branches of the religion, you follow him in his usul. You follow him in the what? In the foundation. So what made him great in the first place? Because if he was upon something else, other than we agree with the correct methodology and the correct creed, he wouldn't be from the Imam in the first place. So the affairs that what made him great was the fact that he traversed upon the most greatest of all affairs, rather the most important of all knowledge, which is incumbent upon every servant to rectify first, which is one's creed and belief in Islam. As we talked about last class, he has a book titled The Greatest Fiqh. The Greatest Fiqh. We discussed last class, we said that fiqh breaks down to two types in regards to what Abu Hanifa mentioned here. So notice with Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah in this book, he's conveying the belief of Abu Hanifa and Nu'man ibn Thabit, rahimahullah, in order to use as a proof that what they were upon in those times, because even you will find from the Muslims who are upon a deviant methodology in the religion, they always use the A'immat al-Arba', or the four great imams such and such. Let's leave the affairs of jurisprudence to the side for a minute, because those are the branches of the religion. Let's stick to the what? His belief. What was his belief? You ask the individual that. What was Abu Hanifa's belief in Aqidah? That's what Shaykh al-Islam is clarifying here in this context. He's clarifying here the belief of Abu Hanifa, to use as a proof that which I'm calling to, he's in agreement with that. So if you truly follow the madhab, follow him in his belief of what made him a great imam in the first place. So that's what Shaykh al-Islam is using as a proof in the argument here. That's the reason why he brings all these nuqulat, all these different reports, and all these different types of transmissions, using them as an argument to establish that what he's calling to is nothing new. Rather, this was something that the A'imah of old were upon. And we know Abu Hanifa, they say that he was so close to the generation of the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was so close to the point where they said he reached and met some of the Sahaba. From them was Anas ibn Malik, radiyallahu anhu. And he reached the time of the Tabi'een and the Atba' Tabi'een, which is the generations in which the Messenger of Allah himself praised as being the best generations. As we know the hadith of Bukhari, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ مَاذَا قَرْنِي ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. The best of my generation, or the best of the people, is my generation. They're those who came after them, they're those who came after them. So the Messenger of Allah praised those generations in which Abu Hanifa reached. What was his belief? He has a book entitled Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar, the greatest fiqh. So fiqh, based upon the context of what Abu Hanifa has mentioned here, everyone, it breaks down to two categories. So notice his book is entitled Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar, the greatest fiqh. That was the book in which Abu Hanifa, in light of what we mentioned last class, we said that the book was established or has been accurately ascribed to Abu Hanifa. From them is Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah himself. That's why he used it as a proof in his book. So the first category of fiqh, in which he entitled his book, or the reason why he entitled his book the greatest fiqh, which you'll find that Al-Ilm mentioned say, which is the greatest of all fiqh? What is the greatest fiqh? Greatest fiqh is fiqh al-aqidah, fiqh al-tawheed. The fiqh of belief and the fiqh and the understanding of tawheed, of monotheism, and how to worship Allah. And the proper fiqh, or the proper understanding in regards to the names and attributes of Allah and His attributes. So if you want to say, in another way, that the greatest fiqh, al-fiqh fi al-matalib al-ilahiyah, wal-nubuwat wa-shu'un al-ma'ad. The greatest of all fiqh is the fiqh in al-matalib al-ilahiyah, the affairs that's connected with the foundation of the religion in regards to one's belief, which is the rububiyyah, the uluhiyyah, wal asma wa sifat. Some of Ahl Ilm used to bring another ibadah. They used to bring another statement by saying al-matalib al-ilahiyah, the affairs that are requested in regards as connected with Allah as a deity worship. So they used to call it al-matalib al-ilahiyah. Attaining the knowledge in those matters is the greatest of all fiqh. It's the greatest of all fiqh. And al-fiqh fi al-nubuwat, the affairs connected with prophethood, and the affairs connected with the hereafter, the shu'un al-ma'ad. Shu'un al-ma'ad is the affairs of the unseen and the hereafter. So basically, to sum up, the reason why it is entitled the greatest fiqh, because the book revolves around that topic of what we just said. That's the first category of fiqh. The second category of fiqh is the fiqh of what they call ma'rifat al-ahkam, the affairs that revolve around ahkam. Those affairs of jurisprudence that I'm sure that everyone is well aware of, from those scholars of jurisprudence, or what they call the scholars of fiqh, which is from those matters in which Ahl Ilm consider from the branches of the religion, what they call al-furu', or al-umur al-furu'iyyah, the affairs of what? That's considered from the branches of the religion. So that's the two categories of fiqh. The first one, as we mentioned, which is connected with one's belief, and the second that we mentioned, which is connected with what we know as jurisprudence, or the affairs of the branches of the religion, and those affairs what they call ma'rifat al-ahkam, having knowledge of the rulings of the branches of the religion. Is it clear, everyone? طيب. So Abu Hanifa, listen to what Shaykh al-Islam conveyed of the statement of Abu Hanifa here. Listen to what he says. So Abu Hanifa, what is his belief? He mentioned it. Shaykh al-Islam mentioned it here. فكان جواب الإمام أبي حنيفة لا تكفرن أحدا بذنب. Do not declare one to be a disbeliever due to a sin they committed. As we mentioned this last class. Meaning, do not be from those evil individuals who's the Messenger of Allah said that they the dogs of hell, who are called the Khawarij. The Khawarij, who we know of these days, who are upon terrorism and wreaking havoc in society and declaring the blood of the Muslims to be lawful and that their blood deserves to be shed. If not, it needs to be eradicated or decimated and removed from life. No matter what they be, innocent bystanders of children, men, women, and children. They don't care. The Messenger of Allah warned against them, and you'll find that Abu Hanifa in this sentence, what is he doing? He's rebuttaling that. He's saying, do not declare a Muslim out the fold of Islam or a disbeliever due to a sin they committed. Unless what, everyone? Unless they deem it to be halal or believe it to be halal, it's something different. But the origin is, if their aqeedah is intact, it is not for you to declare someone who fell into a major sin an unbeliever or disbeliever if they commit a major sin. From those affairs that we know that happened during the time of the Messenger of Allah, what happened in Bukhari, what happened to Al-Hamawiyyah, also happened to that great Sahabi radiallahu an, Al-Himar, the one who fell into drinking intoxicants, and the Messenger of Allah had the hudud applied to him. He had the prescribed punishment, in which the Messenger of Allah, by that punishment, he was purified until the Messenger of Allah praised him at the end of the hadith. After he received his due punishment, the Messenger of Allah said, لا تعين الشيطان على إخوان وعلى أخيك. Do not aid the devil against your brother. And then another narration, the Messenger of Allah said, he said, لا تلعنوا فإني أعلم أنه يحب الله ورسوله. He said, when they started to beat him and give him the punishment, of course, because of him falling into intoxicants, if he was a kafir, the Messenger of Allah would have said that in the hadith. He said he's not even a Muslim anymore, but he didn't say that. Why? Because he knew that great Sahabi, his aqeedah was intact until the point where the Messenger of Allah vouched for his aqeedah. What did he say? After they finished applying the prescribed punishment against him, they started to verbally abuse him by cursing him. And the Messenger of Allah said, do not curse him. Verily, I know he loves Allah and His Messenger. Verily, I know he loves Allah and His Messenger. But however, غَلَبَتْ عَلَيْهِ النَّفْسِ فَوَقَعَ فِي ذَنْبٍ. However, his nafs had overtaken him until he fell into his crime. Is it clear, everyone? If he was out the fold of Islam, then the Messenger of Allah would have said what? He fell into a major sin, kafir. The Messenger of Allah didn't do that. The Messenger of Allah gave him the prescribed penalty, and at the same time he vouched for his belief, by saying that even though he fell into it, he faces his punishment and he relives life. But however, the Messenger of Allah did not declare him to be out the fold of Islam. In agreement with this narration is the statement of what? Abu Hanifa here. He said, we do not declare an individual to be out the fold of Islam due to a sin they committed, which is the methodology of the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. Right, everyone? طيب. So we do not declare them to be a disbeliever either due to an evil they committed or abandoning an obligation or abandoning a good that they're supposed to do. If a person commits a sin, like we said, and he does that in prohibition, or he abandons something he's been commanded with, for example, giving zakah, even though he's been qualified or he's eligible now to give it, and he abandons it, of course, then that individual believes that what he did was unlawful, of course, and his belief is intact, then he just fell into a major crime. But we do not say he's out the fold of Islam due to what? these deviant sects say, who are entitled the Khawarij or the Mu'tazila. Is it clear, everyone? So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from these acts, no doubt, he did give us a severe warning in these narrations not to commit these acts, because they will have a great effect upon your faith. They will have a great effect upon your heart, and they will have a great effect upon your soul. The Messenger of Allah warned, don't do it. Don't fall into it, don't do it. Fight yourself. Make dua to Allah that gives you tawfiq and to inspire you for righteousness. You need to, you okay? That ask Allah to aid you upon yourself, because the human being needs aid in this dunya with his Lord. He needs first aid with Allah upon himself, because just being a human being is fitna. Just being human is a fitna. So a person constantly needs his Lord to, number one, aid him upon himself or herself, because just being human is fitna. Then you need aid from being what? That one, be granted tawfiq to be protected from the people. Because people try to what? They'll try to do evil to you. They'll try to make you out to be what? Someone who you're not. They'll try to impress you. They'll try to hurt you. You have to be aided upon the dunya and all that comes along with it of corruption and evil, even from the people. And being able to what? Have the inspiration to tolerate and endure what you receive of harm without losing your mind and without reciprocating it with something worse, like we see today. Those affairs can only be actualized by Allah Ta'ala. But one has to have his connection with Allah Ta'ala strong and firm and solidified, so he can be protected and he can receive aid from his Lord. Based upon the hadith of Abdullah bin Abbas, when the Messenger of Allah said to him, the greatest advice, احفظ الله يحفظك احفظ الله تجده تجاهك. Guard Allah, Allah will protect you. What it means, guard Allah, meaning fulfill your obligations with your Lord, maintain your connection with Him at all times. From your obligations, from your dhikr, Allah will protect you, He will guard you. So these are the affairs that Abu Hanifa mentioned in these narrations, or this statement here by Shaykh al-Islam. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah brought the belief of Abu Hanifa, saying, do not declare anyone to be out the fold of Islam due to a sin they committed, of course, even though the Messenger of Allah in the narrations warned not to commit the act. And he negated Iman from certain narrations. But negation of Iman, as we know, with the proper understanding, is what everyone in those narrations is negation of complete faith, not the origin of faith. Meaning that one's faith is incomplete if they fall into these major crimes. But it does not mean it's negated from its origin, where they become outside the fold of Islam. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? When the Messenger of Allah said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى لا يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. He negated faith here in this narration. None of you believe. That's negation of faith, right? None of you believe. Isn't that negation of Iman? None of you believe until he loves for his brother, until what? What he loves for himself. The negation of Iman here is negation of what? Complete faith, not what? The origin of faith. Meaning, if you are a selfish individual that only cares about yourself, and you don't care about the rectification of trying to aid certain people, even though your brothers and sisters are in need, you do the best of your ability to aid them in what you can, to the best of your ability, to remove a harm from a road. You see glass in it, your Iman should push you to the best of your ability to be what? Considerate of others. Look how beautiful our religion is. To go outside, you see glass on the ground, you remove it because you don't want people to be harmed. Other affairs like this, the Messenger of Allah negated Iman here as far as the completeness of it, not the what? Not the origin of it. Because there you will find there is no explanation in the hadith of the Messenger of Allah where any of the ulama mentioned by the negation of faith in these narrations that a person is a kafir if he falls into being selfish. It's not the meaning of the hadith. But however, your faith is not what? It's not complete. Because Islam calls you to be what? A considerate individual until you reach the highest levels of Iman where it will be complete, inshallah. Is it clear, everyone? Jay. So that's what the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is what Abu Hanifa was mentioning here. Listen to what the great Imam Muhammad al-Jali, rahimahullah, that he mentions and says. He says, من ارتكب شيئا من هذه الكبائر نقص إيمانه ولم يكن إيمانه كاملا ليس بمؤمن إيمانا كاملا. Exactly what we're saying. He's saying that a person that falls into these major crimes, into these major sins, his faith will be rendered deficient. Faith will be weak. It will be rendered deficient and weak. And his faith will not be complete. He will not be a believer in a manner where his faith is complete. And he said, and give examples of that, all other sins of major disobedience. From sins and sayyi'at wa muhaqqarat al-dhunub. And sins that people accumulate because they say it's small and minor until they fall into it continuously, until it accumulates and becomes from the major sins. All those affairs, even though if one falls into it, of course, we do not say that they're an unbeliever due to it unless they make it halal. That's something different. Is it clear, everyone? طيب ولا يكفر الإنسان بارتكاب ذنب من هذه الذنوب عند أهل السنة والجماعة ولكن ينقص إيمانه ما لم يستحله, as we just mentioned that. طيب. So you see the belief of Abu Hanifa. He refuted the Khawarij in this statement. So those who now believe in this type of so-called madhab of the Khawarij and Mu'tazila, as we know, the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila are from those deviant sects that fell into this dangerous type of belief of declaring the Muslims to be outside the fold of Islam and that their blood is lawful until they fall into the permissibility of killing you as a result of this evil satanic belief, in which you'll find today, a lot of them have. And this deviant sect is still what? Prevalent to today. They're prevalent to today. They have their mawaqi', and some of them have their own type of so-called blogs, videos, websites to propagate this satanic belief that if a person was to embrace it, they will fall into bloodshed and murder and wreaking havoc upon society, wal-'iyadhu billah. And being from those who corrupt the earth, not from those who rectify. The Khawarij and the Mu'tazila agree in their belief. Shaykh al-Islam called them in his other book entitled Al-Aqidat al-Wasitiyah. He called them the Wa'idiyah. The Wa'idiyah. Even though the Wa'idiyah is a general term, but what falls under that banner is the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. The Khawarij, of course, as we said, they believe that a person that falls into a sin is a kafir in this world and in the hereafter. He's a kafir in this world and in the hereafter, and he will abide in the hellfire forever. Khalidan mukhaladan fil nar. He will abide immortally there, eternally, forever, and he will never come out. He's a kafir in this world, kafir in the hereafter. The Mu'tazila, they believe that a person that falls into a major sin in this world are in a state between two states. He's not a believer, nor is he a disbeliever. Don't ask me why. That's the reason why it's strange. He's not a believer, nor is he a disbeliever. Rather, he's in a state between two states, as you'll find that they say, fi manzila bayna manzilatayn. He's in a state between two states. He's not a believer, nor is he a what? Kafir. However, in the hereafter, he's what? Kafir. And he will abide in the hellfire forever. So the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila agree with each other in the ahkam al-akhirah, and they differ with each other in the ahkam of the dunya. The ahkam of the rulings of this world, they differ, but in the hereafter they what? Agree. Clear or not clear? Everyone with me? Jayyid. طيب. The Khawarij, as we mentioned, has said, the message of Allah declared them to be the dogs of hell, and he repeated it. He said they're the kilab al-nar, kilab al-nar, kilab al-nar, kilab al-nar. And he repeated it to highly condemn them and to show the great magnitude of evil they possess. As you'll find that we said to these days and times, you still see it. And how they are able to kill someone without any hesitation. As I've seen some of the videos of how they easily kill, it's scary. I've seen like they were like a chicken, like what do you call it? You ever seen how the belt where they bring animals, they would slaughter, and the person just slaughtered the animal? We know that's halal, no doubt. Can you imagine human beings and a person being done that way? Just kill them. Bow. Next. Bow. Next. Bow. No hesitation. No remorse. No mercy. No hesitation. That's how sinister and how sadistic and evil that a person's belief is, until the point where they think that they're drawing close to Allah by this type of deed. That's extremely dangerous. Is it clear, everyone? That's the reason why Ahl Sunnah clarify these affairs and warn against them severely. And there's not no deviant sect. If you go back to the book called Aqidat al-Salaf wa Ashab al-Hadith by the great Imam Abu Uthman Ismail Abdur Rahman al-Sabuni al-Naysaburi rahimahullah, except he said there's not any deviant sect out there except that all of them have an inclination to the sword. All of them. The only people who are saved from not being murderers or people of havoc or wreaking havoc in society is the people of Sunnah. Why? Because they understand the text properly. They have the middle course and they understand it. All the other deviant sects, you'll find that they have inclinations to the sword, meaning inclination to shed blood. Inclinations to shed blood. And there's no one that's saved from this affair except the people of Sunnah. And if you look and ponder the history, a person would think that the Murji'ah wouldn't be people who's inclined towards the sword. Yes, they are. The Murji'ah, the deviant sect of the Murji'ah, those Muslims who say, for example, oh, I don't have to pray 5 times a day, faith is here. That's what they call irja in religion. That basically actions is not obligatory. I don't have to pray, I don't have to do nothing. My faith is here. Nonsense, right, everyone? Like, you would think that that sect is not inclined towards the sword, because basically they don't believe to practice anything. No matter what you do of evil, your iman is complete. Like the iman of the Prophet ﷺ, the Jibreel. You have complete faith no matter what you do of evil. You would think that they were what? People that are not inclined towards weaponry or sword or bloodshed. You'll find in history that Shaykh, that Imam of the Imam al-Sabuni brought in his book, he said even they are inclined towards the sword. Even you'll find history from them who actually what? Set out in the earth to wreak havoc upon innocent bystanders and people. There's no deviant sect except you'll find there amongst them, even the Sufis. We want to talk about their history. From what they call Fuqara al-Jama'ah, the one who killed the scholar who came here to Philadelphia. He was here. He got murdered by them. Anybody know his name? Shaykh Muhammad Aslam. Shaykh Muhammad Aslam was here in Philadelphia in the 70s. He was murdered by the Jama'at al-Tabligh. They killed him. They assassinated, set him in a row, and they put a bullet in his head. Every Muslim who's upon deviant methodology or deviant, corrupt creed are all inclined towards violence. No one is saved from that except those who have true understanding of this affair, who are the people of Sunnah and the people who understand these affairs and these texts of the Message of Allah properly. Is it clear, everyone? Is it not clear? It's clear. And I heard Shaykh Ubayd when I was even overseas, when I was sitting in someone's class, he even mentioned Shaykh Muhammad Aslam. This is back in 2004. 2004. We sit with Fadilat al-Walid, Shaykh Ubayd, Hafidhullah wa Ra'ah, Fadilat al-Walid. He was sitting with him, and he told the story that how the Jama'at al-Tabligh, the Sufis, and you would think the Sufis are people who, oh brother, you have good fruit, eat the fruit, brother, to the end of the nonsense, right? They are inclined towards violence. They will. They will violate you and they will kill you. And Shaykh Ubayd even mentioned the story of what happened with Shaykh Muhammad Aslam. And he mentioned Philadelphia. He said Shaykh Muhammad Aslam, who was known with us here in Medina, wrote a risala against the Sufis. And he went to a city called Philadelphia, he was murdered. He said, I couldn't believe it, he was right there. Who's he killed by? Sufis. To let you know that they were what? They're also inclined towards violence, bloodshed, and murder. So what? The great Imam of Aqidah Ahl Sunnah, the great Imam Abu Uthman Ismail Abdur Rahman al-Sabuni al-Naysaburi, what he mentioned in his book is true. There's no deviant sect out there who deviated from the proper understanding of the Salaf and from the proper understanding of the Sahaba except that you'll find that every single last one of them are inclined towards violence and bloodshed. And those who are upon Ikhwaniyah, same thing, I think that's clear. Once you now revolt and you stir up uprisings and revolts, khalas, that's an inclination towards violence. Even though it starts in the beginning as peace, as so-called peaceful what? Protest. It starts off that way. Then as it what? It goes on. Finally you'll find that someone innocent what? Got hurt, or they became what? Murdered. And we know that Ahlul Sunnah, we regard one soul being hurt or one soul being killed as something major. It's not about with the non-Muslims, oh, it's only one or two, nobody cares. No, one individual is respected and considered major with us. One soul lost, one soul violently hurt, one soul violated and killed is enough. Is it clear everyone? J. So that's the affair you'll find at Abu Hanifa that he mentioned of his belief. So let's keep going. What Abu Hanifa mentions. It says, وَلَا تَنْفِي أَحَدًا بِهِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. Let's keep reading what he says. No, I'm sorry everyone. He says in the Fiqh al-Akbar, المشهور عند أصحاب أبي حنيفة الذي رواه, we already talked about this. وَلَا تَنْفِي أَحَدًا بِهِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ وَتَأْمُرْ بالمعروف وتنهى عن المنكر وتعلم أن ما أصابه لم يكن ليخطئك ما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك. طيب. Now listen to what he goes on to say in his belief, Abu Hanifa. So he said, do not negate anyone remove or negate anyone's faith from the people of the Qibla. He's just basically putting emphasis on what he just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. طيب. He said, do not command the good or forbid the evil. Meaning, here in this context, the Khawarij of old used to use statements of truth in order to execute what? Evil. So they would put it under the guise of something correct in order to what? Justify what they were doing. So that's what Abu Hanifa was saying here. So because you've noticed, if you look at the context, he's refuted the Khawarij. And then he said, do not do that in the name of what? Commanding the good or forbidding the evil. Because that's what the Mu'tazila used to say, that from us, removing one from the fold of Islam, or shedding blood, or decimating the so-called irreligious, vile, evil rulers, we're commanding the good and forbidding the evil. That was a principle with them. Is it clear? So they use that as a so-called guidance to hide under, to carry out and justify their evil. Because if a person was to go out and just say, listen, we just want to kill you, nobody's going to accept it. So we have to bring something of truth to what? Make it look innocent, or make it look like it's justifiable. So they bring the title and they bring in evil in order to so-called disguise it so they can justify it with the people so they can follow along. See, they commanded the good, forbidden the evil. No, they're not. They're just doing evil. But they're just using that as a title just to be the so-called smoke screen. Is it clear, everyone? Fine. So that's what you'll find him saying. Did he say at the end part, he's talking about the Mu'tazila here. Like we said, from that Qawaid is they used to say we command the good, forbid the evil. However, with them, the Mu'tazila, it means we need to overthrow the vile, evil rulers. That's the meaning of commanding the good and forbidding the evil with them. Toppling the rulers and attaining what? Power, dominance, and leadership over the people. That's why you find Abu Hanifa was mentioned this in this context. Is it clear? Fine. So this he goes on to say. He says, وَتَعْلَمْ, that you know that what has afflicted you, it was not meant to miss you. Or, the meaning of the statement, or what you attain, it was meant for you to have it. And what missed you, it was not meant to afflict you. Or, what you did not attain, it was not meant for you to have it. It means all those meanings. Is it clear, everyone? Then he goes on to say, وَلَا تَتَبَرَّ مِنْ أَحَدٍ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَلَا نُوَالِ أَحَدًا مِنْ دُونَ أَحَدٍ. We talked about this last class. He said that we do not say that one is a wali of Allah besides the other from the companions of the Messenger of Allah. Meaning we do not differentiate between them, saying that one is from the awliya of Allah, the allies of Allah, or from those who Allah loved, and that one isn't. That one is a hypocrite, as you'll find that some of the deviant sects say. From those who so-called revile the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, we do not differentiate between any of them. We love all of them, we respect and revere all of them, without differentiating between them. For example, from us glorifying or respecting the house of, or the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we don't respect the other companions, besides those who are from Ahl-Bayt, from the so-called house or family of the Messenger of Allah, but the others we revile and we declare them to be disbelievers based upon this nonsense and rhetoric that you'll find the majority of it emanates from the group of today called the Shia and the Rawafid, where they condemn the Messenger of Allah, condemn the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his wives, and they differentiate between them and saying that everything was supposed to be given to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, and that is the affair that was supposed to happen. In actuality, they mean the Messenger of Allah, because if you revile those who are close to him and his wives, actuality, you're reviling the Messenger of Allah, but you're hiding it. Because those who conveyed it is what made our religion spread. And once you're able to now revile those who are trustworthy to spread it, then the religion drops. So at the end of the day, who you're trying to say is the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is what? Suspect. So those are the affairs you'll find that Abu Hanifa is clarifying. That what? You do not differentiate between any of the companions of the Messenger of Allah by saying this one is the one we prefer and that one. No. We don't like that one. We hate that one. This one is better than that. No, excuse me, not saying that. That this one is better, this one we hate and we despise. You'll find that even from the Rawafid, they have a dua called dua as-salamain. They call it the dua of the two idols that's in hell. Who do they mean by that? They mean Abu Bakr and Umar. They call it the dua of the two idols. So they call Abu Bakr and Umar what? The two idols that's going to be in the hellfire. Dua as-salamain. And they say that dua, Allah, oh Allah, curse the salamain in the two daughters of the salamain. Who are they talking about? Hafsa and Aisha radiallahu anhuma. So don't only curse Abu Bakr and Umar and say that they're from the idols of hell, curse their daughters too. Who are the daughters of the Messenger? Who are the daughters of these two great companions except the wives of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it clear, everyone? So that's what Abu Hanifa is mentioning here. He's saying here that we do not what? Make any any differentiation between the companions, where we respect some and we revile others. We love all of them, we respect all of them, and this is a very profound statement. I'm going to leave the class off from here, right here. Very, very beautiful statement that if you can memorize this, inshallah, you won't fall into speaking ill about any of the companions of the Messenger of Allah. Beautiful statement, very profound. It says, as long, or basically our Lord has made it binding that we protect our weapons and our spears from their blood, meaning from shedding their blood. It is obligatory that we maintain and refrain our pens and our tongues from speaking about their honor. Is it clear, everyone? No. We'll stop here, inshallah. We'll continue tomorrow. I think it's time. The event came in about 8 minutes ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 8 minutes ago. Yeah, you call for me, please. Any questions about the lesson, anyone? Questions about the lesson?
Second part of the statement says it's an obligation for us to our words.
Maintain and refrain.
Maintain and refrain our words and
our pens.
Our pens.
From i'radihim, from basically disrespecting them, from their honor. From their honor. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Any questions about the lesson, anyone?
The last thing you said, right?
Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar.
You said protect our weapons from the blood.
That was the first part. Hold on for a second. Then. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. الله أكبر الله أكبر. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود الذي بعده. Any questions, anything that wasn't clear? So keep in mind, the reason why we're mentioning this is we were relating the belief of Abu Hanifa and how his aqidah agreed with the aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah. And what we just mentioned, and you'll find why Shaykh al-Islam brought or conveyed his aqidah to use it as a proof against those who so-called believe in something else, even though they claim they ascribe to Abu Hanifa or follow his method. At any affair, doesn't matter of what matter of fiqh, from the branches of the religion that you claim that you respect him in, is binding upon you to follow him and what made him a great imam in the first place, which is in his belief, where there's no ikhtilaf in those affairs. There's ikhtilaf in the affairs that's in the branches of the religion, in branches, but not in the belief, where it's which doesn't make sense. Why would you follow him in something where, in affairs that Yasuq al-ijtihad fi? Those are certain matters of fiqh that one can differ if there's not a clear text in that particular affair of fiqh. But why would you not follow him in the affair where the matters are united? It doesn't make any sense. You'll find the majority of Muslims, they want to blind follow the madhahib in affairs that they make mistakes in, but not blind follow him in the affairs that is binding upon them to follow him in. Which is in his what? His belief. Is it clear, everyone? So that's the reason why we try to rectify these matters, because we tell that the Muslims, if you are strong in Aqidah, you'll be strong in every other aspect of the religion. The affairs of Aqidah and Creed, if you are strong in that, and you are mutamakkin, you're established, and you are clear in those matters, and you are a heavyweight in these matters, you will be strong in every affair of the religion. And to the point we're going to talk about tomorrow, that Abu Hanifa said, even if you have an abundance of knowledge and you're weak in these matters, it's as if you're nothing. It's as if you're not even relevant. Even though you might have gathered or amassed a lot of knowledge of the branches of the religion. If you're not strong in this matter here, and you have no knowledge of your Lord, it's as if you have no knowledge. We'll talk about that tomorrow. He even mentioned that. Who doesn't have knowledge of their Lord, even though they so-called claim they have a lot of knowledge, as if they don't have any knowledge. If you don't have knowledge of Allah. Is it clear, everyone? I thought it was something. Anything else? Fataawa.
In the beginning of the book, you said the greatest fiqh. He said the first you said was the names.
Fiqh al-Aqidah, wal-Tawheed, wal-Asma' wal-Sifat. And if you're going to call it al-Matalib al-Ilahiyah, wal-Nubuwat, wal-Shu'un al-Ma'ad, wal-Shu'un al-Ma'ad. Or if you want to call it Fiqh al-Aqidah, Fiqh al-Tawheed, the Fiqh al-Asma' wal-Sifat. Anything else? That's it. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت.